Big game tonight in the Big 12, and for Kansas trying to win 2 in a row after that 3-game losing streak as they take on the Texas Longhorns, who have their point guard Mike Kabongo back and playing his second game back with them. But look at the Big 12 standings reveals the importance of this game. Oklahoma State beat Oklahoma in overtime. Kansas State is a couple of minutes away from wrapping up a win over Baylor, so KU needs a win to stay in a tie for the top spot in the Big 12. And hi, everybody. Dan Schulman and Jay Billis. You know, Kansas has won or shared the regular season crown 8 years in a row in this conference. They need to win this one, you would think, to keep pace with the other two schools who are right there. How do you look at this Kansas team after the 3-game losing streak and then the win over K-State on Monday?
Well, I thought when they lost to Oklahoma State here was the first time I'd seen Kansas play a little bit soft. Since then, when they got that win against Kansas State, they got back to playing the kind of basketball they're capable of. They're not trying to hit home runs. They're making the easy play. And against a team like Texas, you're going to have to play through a lot of contact. Texas is very physical, very good defensively. You play through contact, you got a chance to shoot a lot of free throws in this one.
As we check out the one-on-one, we'll take a look at not only maybe the best freshman in the country, but one of the best players in the country.
Yeah, Ben McLemore is having an outstanding year. He's leading the Big 12 in scoring in Big 12 games. He's averaging over 18 points per game, scoring 24 points per game in this building in Big 12 play. And he's an effortless scorer, a guy who can put the ball on the deck and who knocks down perimeter shots at a really high level, shoots 47% from 3 in Big 12 games. And for Texas, the 3 things that the Longhorns have to do to win: they've got to take care of the ball. You can't take bad shots, cannot turn it over. You have to get back in your transition defense, and Texas has to finish plays. That sounds like offensive end, but no, that's the defensive end. You've got to box out and finish up your defensive possessions with a big defensive rebound.
For more on tonight's matchup, let's welcome in Holly Rowe.
Well, guys, keep in mind, for Mike Kabongo of Texas, this is his first road game of the year due to that suspension. I talked to him before the game. He said he's getting more and more comfortable, but it's been almost a year since he's played on the road. He forgot a few things. He said he forgot his knee pads at home, but thank goodness the managers packed them. But keep in mind, tonight he has asked to guard Ben McLemore. That's going to be a great matchup early on, but he has had a problem getting into foul trouble. Mike Kabongo got into foul trouble in his first game back against Iowa State Wednesday. He'll have to stay out of it tonight.
Holly, thank you. Here comes the announcement of the Jayhawks. We are moments away from the tip. This has been the Infinity Tip-Off. Now let's take a look at how some coaches have fun with fundraising in the Infinity Coaches Charity Challenge.
You've been training? A little. How about you? A little. All right, the only way we raise the money is if we finish the race. That's why I'm getting these quads breathing. Those are your hams. What do you mean, I'm supposed to pin this in? You don't have any glue?
You ready to do this?
I'm ready.
What kind of time you looking for?
Probably 3.5 for me.
Ooh.
Let's go back.
Good idea. I need some water.
I don't think they give water out this early.
NCAA coaches, great at coaching, not so great at fundraising.
Go to ESPN.com/Infinity and vote for your favorite coach's charity in the Infinity Coaches Charity Challenge. You're watching ESPN's Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's.
Out of rivalries comes written history of epic battles and legendary feats with the stories written by rivalries.
Welcome to Saturday Primetime, presented by DirecTV. All a part of Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's. The Texas Longhorns and number 14 Kansas. And what a scene here at the Fog at Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence, Kansas, as the Jayhawks get ready to take on the Horns. Let's check out the starting lineups right now, beginning with the visitors from Austin. Back for the second game of the season is Mike Kabongo. Some say Texas is 11-13. Some prefer to say they're 1-0 because Kabongo is back. Rick Barnes has been juggling his lineup all season long, trying to find a unit that he's comfortable with. For the Jayhawks, a lot more consistency. And 4 seniors in the starting lineup, including the great shot blocker, Jeff Withey. And as Jay has already discussed, one of the great talents in all of college basketball, redshirt freshman Ben McLemore. Wow, it was loud at Indiana. It was loud at Duke. It was loud at Butler. It's right up there here in Lawrence.
And it's a tremendous challenge for an opposing team to come in here and try to execute with this type of noise. You've got to be connected and make sure you communicate. It's got to be nonverbal at times.
You guys talked about it a lot this morning and again tonight. Some places, a lot of places have great atmospheres. This place has a great atmosphere, but you also get goosebumps when you come to this building.
I think that it's truly second to none. There may be some that are just as good, but I've never been anywhere better.
Ready to go here, and it's the Longhorns with the first possession of the night. And let's keep our eyes on the man with the ball. Sophomore point guard Mike Kabongo.
Texas plays with a different rhythm, a different speed with Kabongo in there.
13 points, 7 assists before fouling out in first overtime as Texas beat Iowa State in double overtime on Wednesday. Lammert has it taken away, and here's Elijah Johnson. Johnson to the rim. Won't stay down. Kevin Young, the offensive rebound. Knocked away. Young retrieves.
Bishop's shaky passing by both teams. Texas tried to thread the needle. Just a tough angle and a bad pass on the other end.
Now look inside Withey with his patented jump hook. Young can't follow. And finally Texas down with it. The Longhorns protecting the glass at the defensive end, one of the big keys in this game.
Well, that's what they have to do, to box out on every possession. That includes the guards, because Travis Relaford can get to the glass. Elijah Johnson, an outstanding athlete as well, that can every once in a while get to the glass.
You know, Rick Barnes remarkably upbeat considering the struggles that the Longhorns have had this year, 11 and 13. He likes his group. They're an incredibly young team. 11 scholarship players, Jay. 6 are freshmen, 5 are sophomores.
You know, Dan, they play really hard on the defensive end. They hold their opponents to 36% from the field, but what they do is they foul a lot. There's a 100 free throw attempt disparity just in Big 12 play. You're not going to win if you put your opponents at the line that much.
Kabongo the dish. The three a little bit strong for Jonathan Holmes, and back on the Jayhawks. Right now, Kabongo is on Relaford, at least on this trip. DeMarcus Holland is on McLemore. Relaford elevates for 3.
Travis Relaford has had a terrific year, averaging 12 points per game, shooting 59% from the field, and one of the best defenders, not only in the Big 12, but in the country.
Lammert passes up the shot. The lefty can hit it from out there. Just making his second start, made his first one Wednesday against Iowa State, and at 14 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists. He's a very good passer as well.
Very skilled. He hasn't shot the ball particularly well, even though he's a good shooter.
Comes up with the offensive rebound and the putback.
That's one of the instances where Jeff Withey caused that miss, but took himself out of the play going after the block shot. And you've got to get guys blocking out that are guards on that in the rotation.
Relaford again. Sometimes overlooked. You think of Withey and McLemore and Johnson. Relaford with 2 early threes, and look at the defense that he's playing on Papa Petru. Holmes inside, and a foul on Young.
Kevin Young and Relaford switched off, and Young was not as alert switching back. But a terrific screen there by Ben McLemore, just screening down, picking off Relaford's defender.
You know, he's sometimes characterized as a glue guy. That diminishes what he brings to the team. 43% three-point shooting, over an 80% free throw shooter, good defense. Relaford does a lot of different things. He's a glue guy deluxe for this Kansas team, but just overlooked sometimes because other guys have bigger resumes.
Well, you talk about a role player, and sometimes people hear that and they say, well, he's limited.
Right.
Well, he's a star in his role. And his role as a leader this year has been really important for Kansas.
1 of 2 for Holmes. And here's Elijah Johnson. Has not shot the ball well this year. Sometimes criticized, sometimes praised by his coach, Bill Self. Young into traffic, and Holmes just takes it away from him.
He's got to pull up there and use the glass. Taking it all the way down to the baseline. He just took it right into Holmes and right into trouble to turn it over. Texas going to try to set as many ball screens by using the man that Withey is guarding. Try to draw him away from the basket. They want to involve Withey in ball screens as often as they can, get him out of the lane.
Kabongo to the rim, leaves it a little bit short. McLemore the rebound, looking to push. Young to the trailer, Withey, who gathers and finishes.
And the foul went on Kabongo. When Mike Kabongo got the ball all the way to the rim and missed that shot on the other end and then winds up getting a foul just late getting that steal. Looked like he was going to pick that off when Kevin Young threw the ball back to Withey.
Bongo getting an explanation for the foul call. The officials tonight, Doug Sermons, David Hall, Bert Smith, as Withey heads to the line. A guy who was not much of a factor at all his first 2 seasons here in Lawrence has become KU's all-time shot blocks leader and is 1 away from tying Chris Mihm, ironically a Longhorn, or coincidentally a Longhorn, for the all-time Big 12 record in block shots.
Where Papa Petru is being guarded by Relaford. He hasn't been able to breathe thus far. He's a good offensive player, but hadn't gotten a look.
Lammert from the corner knocks down the 3.
If Lammert can make that shot and draw Withey away from the basket, that can allow Texas to attack off the dribble. He is deadly from the corner. That's like a layup for McLemore.
Nice look inside. Kabongo to Lammert, and the lefty forces it up, gets it back, and finishes. Back to McLemore. Remember Doc Sadler saying to us yesterday, if McLemore takes a shot from the corner, chances are the other team's taking it out of the net. We saw that.
Really almost anywhere he shoots it from now. He's shooting 47% from 3, and Elijah Johnson just slipped.
A good start here at Allen Fieldhouse with KU leading by 3 early on in this one.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. And in part by Infinity, luxury cars that deliver inspired performance. Indiana, Michigan State, and Florida, Missouri. Tuesday on ESPN.
It was the worst team that Kansas has ever put on the floor.
Down goes Kansas! Down goes Kansas!
For the first half, there hasn't been a team play worse than that.
And they're going to storm the court here. Look out.
They just whipped us. They deserve to win.
KU has lost 3 in a row.
A 3-game losing streak for Kansas for the first time since 2005. The TCU game particularly ugly. They didn't score a point until 7 minutes into the game. 14 minutes into the game, Jay, Kansas had 4 points, wound up losing 62-55, and I think the KU players are lucky that Bill Self is one of the nicest men in America, because it could have been an ugly, and maybe it was an ugly 10 days for him.
Yeah, but didn't you think it was horribly disrespectful of Bill to compare his team to the Topeka YMCA? I mean, that Topeka YMCA was pretty good. They beat Seton Hall that year when Raftery was coaching.
Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Holly Rowe here at Allen Fieldhouse. Kansas leading Texas 11-8. The Jayhawks bounced back in impressive fashion on a Monday night, beating Kansas State 83-62 behind 30 points from Ben McLemore. Withey with a block to tie the Big 12 record. Relaford will go to the free throw line at the other end. Man, oh man, did the guys in the white jerseys get down the court in a hurry.
That's just vintage Jeff Withey. He waits for the offensive player to leave the floor. He doesn't allow the offensive player to get contact into his body, so therefore he does not foul and knocks the ball away. I mean, he can block it out of your hand. He can wait for you to release it. Oftentimes when he comes over as a weak side defender, that's when he waits for you to let go of the ball. But when he's on the ball, he'll take it right out of your hands with his length. And that's where he turns defense into offense.
Past Greg Ostertag for the Kansas record on a Monday night, and just tied Chris Mihm for the Big 12 record here tonight. And Rutherford off to a big start, a couple of threes already.
And when Jeff Withey first got here transferring in from Arizona, I think if you had told anybody on the Kansas staff he's going to be the all-time leading shot blocker in Big 12 history, they might have smirked a little bit. I mean, he's come a long way and has worked really, really hard to become maybe the nation's best defensive player, most valuable defensive player.
Just got a text from another one of Arizona's greats, my friend Terry Francona, who's watching tonight, a huge college basketball fan in the College World Series with Arizona back in the day. Here's Elijah Johnson after another rebound by McLemore. And Withey shoved by Holmes. Let's check in with Holly Rowe.
Well, you may have noticed that the two leading scorers for Texas, Sheldon McClellan and Julian Lewis, have checked into the game. Coach Barnes has had them on the bench the last 2 games, not starting. He's shown them extensive film of what he's asking them to do and be more consistent with it. For Julian, it's blocking out. For Sheldon, he said, it's doing all the little things, making smarter decisions. He will be quick to yank them if they don't do those things.
Holly, thank you. Sheldon McClellan, I think people would agree, Jay, is without question one of the 2 most talented players on the Texas roster right now, along with Kabongo. What has been putting McClellan in Coach Barnes' doghouse from time to time?
Well, it's more his defensive effort because he can absolutely score, but having him show that focus all the time, not only on the offensive end, but the defensive end. So he's been in and out of the starting lineup all season long.
A three for Elijah Johnson. Kansas has made its last 5 shots, and a very good sign for Johnson, who, as we mentioned earlier, has struggled shooting the ball much of the season.
And he and Nadir Tharp playing in the ball game together, and Johnson much more comfortable at the off-guard position. He's only shooting 29% in conference play. I'll tell you, the play before, Dan, people might not think that this is a smart play, but when he pulled up and got the ball inside instead of taking it too fast, just coming off that ball screen set by Withey, and it's nice to see Elijah Johnson playing with a smile on his face. He was the guy, one of the guys blamed for the 3-game slide. He's not a point guard. He can't do this, can't do that, not scoring. That young man's played some high-level basketball here. He's been involved in a lot of great wins. And I don't think Kansas, they may not be the number 2 team in the country, which they rose to earlier in the year, but they're better than 14 or 15, too.
They're 20-4 on the season, 8-3 in the Big 12. Right now, a half game behind Oklahoma State and Kansas State, each of whom won today to go to 9-3 in the league. Withey, Young can't handle the pass.
See, Withey's got to shoot that ball. When he gets the ball that deep in the post, you got to score. You're not going to get a post-to-post pass across the lane.
Kabongo needs some help. Here comes McClellan. Cameron Ridley is into the game for Texas. 6'9", 270-pound freshman from Houston. Kabongo glides in and is hacked by Tharp.
See, that's not a foul that Nadir Tharp should give up. When you got Jeff Withey back there who can erase a mistake, if you get beat off the bounce or somebody cuts past you into the lane, I would say, hey, Jeff, fix that for me, will you? I'll get you later. You can have my dessert at training camp.
Here's Kabongo to the line. Just his 2nd game back after a 23-game suspension. Let's get your thoughts, maybe once we can deal with it early, on the Kabongo situation this year.
I'm glad to see him back. I thought it was unfortunate the way the NCAA handled that. It took way too long. I thought it was way over the top, the punishment that was handed out to him. But I'm glad to see it all over.
And the situation revolved around Kabongo having somebody pay for a flight of his. He went up to Cleveland with Tristan Thompson, a friend of his, a former Longhorn, now a Cavalier. And the flight was paid for. And then what Kabongo did was he didn't come clean to Texas officials about the situation and the fact that he did not pay for the flight. He did not lie to the NCAA. He misled Texas officials, but the NCAA frowned upon that, originally suspended him for the whole year. And then upon appeal, they reduced it to 23 games, so he just came back this week.
And certainly nobody condones not being forthcoming in initial interviews, but the young man didn't have counsel. He was scared, didn't do the right thing. But that is not uncommon. He never lied to the NCAA. It was straightened out relatively quickly.
Papa Petra with the offensive rebound. The kick to a wide open Kabongo, who misses the 3. Ridley can't finish. And here come the Jayhawks.
And that's the next step for Mike Kabongo, is to be able to knock down those shots. He only shot 38-39% from the field last year. They really need to continue to refine that jump shot.
Barry Ellis, number 34, with the ball into the game for the Jayhawks. Muscles it up. Withey blocked by Ridley.
Cameron Ridley is one big body that can take up space. And he has been playing much better. He's playing, I guess you could say he's playing hurt. He's got strep throat. But he's clearly fighting through it to play meaningful minutes to start this game.
Rick Barnes looks at his team and he sees a lot of guys, and he's had as many one-and-dones as just about anybody in the country in recent years, but he sees a lot of guys who are going to be in the program for 3-4 years, and he likes the potential in the future of this group as much as they've taken their lumps this year.
Not sure the guy with the ball is going to be here 3 or 4.
That's McLemore, a very possible #1 pick, first overall pick in the NBA draft. He just dribbled the ball out of bounds, or stepped out of bounds, so he turns it over to Texas. But you look at a lot of the mock draft boards right now, and Bill Self knows that Ben McLemore is going to go. The one thing the Kansas coaching staff says about McLemore is as good of a player as he is, he's a better kid.
And that's actually been something they've talked to him about, is they want him to be more assertive. He's such a nice kid, so humble, always has a smile.
Coach K ever say that about you?
No. But he never said be more assertive either.
Ridley doing some good work since coming in off the bench. He'll be heading to the free throw line when we come back. McLemore just picked up the foul. That's his second. He doesn't like the call, not too sure about it. But he's sure doing his thing at the other end. One of the purest strokes in basketball, and Kansas leads by 6.
Chris Cotter in studio. Michigan State and Nebraska having a hard time on the road. Are the Spartans. Here's Dawson with the bucket, but it's just a 3-point lead for Michigan State with 10 minutes left to go in the contest, Dan.
Back here at Allen Fieldhouse, Kansas leading Texas 15-9. Saturday primetime presented by DirecTV. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Holly Rowe. And a lot of former Jayhawks stars in the house tonight. From right to left, you see Xavier Henry, Tyshawn Taylor, a Morris, Thomas Robinson, and another Morris. Can you identify Marcus from Markeith?
I can guess. Then Nick Collison right behind him, sitting by Jeff Graves. Wayne Simeon.
Yeah, and Mario Chalmers, whose jersey, number 15, is going to be raised to the rafters here tonight at the Fog. In commemoration, among other things, of the shot he hit to force overtime in the national championship game in 2008, when Kansas went on to defeat Memphis and claim its 5th national championship. And Chalmers was named the most outstanding player of that Final Four. What a special moment it's going to be at halftime for Mario Chalmers. Of course, NBA All-Star Weekend, so a lot of the former Jayhawks are free this weekend, and they flock back here to see the Fog. Ridley misses a pair.
Texas 3 of 14 to start this game out. A number of those misses were shots they took in the lane and were challenged by Jeff Withey when he was in the ballgame.
Tharp at the point, Johnson on the bench right now for the Jayhawks.
They'll just go into their ball screen offense. And they really move the ball from side to side. That allows them to get it inside.
Perry Ellis, no. Jamari Traylor. Wow. Ridley left the earth. What goes up must come down, especially when you weigh in excess of 270 pounds, but somehow managed to avoid committing a foul.
Well, Traylor brought the ball down. That allowed Javon Felix, who really did a good job trying to block him out, and Traylor just threw him aside. But when he brought the ball down, that allowed Felix, who is very strong, to knock that ball away with his right hand. Felix did everything he could to block him out. But Traylor, who Danny Manning once described him to me as a junior Kenneth Fareed. Just has a great motor, really goes after the ball. He hurt his hand in practice the other day, but he's got a chance to be. He's going to be a really good player here.
By the way, the last foul before the timeout, originally charged to Ben McLemore, was changed to Perry Ellis. So McLemore only has 1. Looking inside again for Traylor. And McLemore, good cut, but then fumbled the ball out of bounds as Jeff Withey and Kevin Young check back in for Kansas.
Well, one thing that surprises you a little bit about this Kansas team, it's not a very skilled passing team. I wouldn't call this a great passing team.
And one of the major points of emphasis from Bill Self, more than any other, as much as any other coach and as much as anything else he talks about in practice, is keep the ball moving. Don't let the ball die in somebody's hands. He talks about reversing the ball every possession.
Yeah, ball reversal is something he says time after time. And a gentleman that I work with quite a bit with the Boston Celtics, Kevin Eastman, says often the best place to score is the other side of the floor. You move it to the other side of the floor, you got a much higher percentage opportunity to score because you've made the defense move.
Young in for Withey, and he's fouled. 3 top 10 teams headline Super Tuesday on ESPN. What a game this is going to be as Indiana travels to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. Mike Tirico is going to be joined by Dick Vitale and Magic Johnson on that telecast. And then at 9 Eastern, it'll be Florida and Missouri. Super Tuesday on ESPN and also live on Watch ESPN.
Do you think the topic will be broached on that broadcast that Dick Vitale recruited Magic Johnson and he chose not to go to Detroit but rather Michigan State? I do believe that might be discussed at some point.
I'll take the under 16 timeout if the first half is the over-under.
That is going to be fun.
And how about how Tom Izzo's team has been playing recently? McLemore for 3.
Wow. That's Ray Allen stuff there. Talk about catching the ball ready to shoot. He is absolutely effortless in his jump shot. Glides right into it and explodes off the floor.
Kabongo the kick. Holmes in the corner. McLemore down with a rebound, doing a little bit of everything.
He gets almost 6 of them per game.
This time puts it on the deck. Johnson steps into a 3. Lammert. And guess who with another rebound?
Well, Lambert's got such a nice stroke, but he's only shooting 20% from 3. He knocked out that one in the corner, but he's missed his next 2. That ball's got to be thrown up. You throw that up to the rim, and Withey can hold off his defender and go get it. Instead of throwing it to his hand, throw it to the rim.
McClellan back into the game and out for Texas. And Relaford returns for Kansas. Lammert out. Tharp out.
Well, Texas continues to really defend hard. But after a while, your inability to score really takes away some of your will.
These two teams are 1-2 in the country in opponents' field goal percentage.
But Texas puts you on the line so much and gives away so many free throws. Good pass, but a tough angle, still completed it.
Young had Felix on him and took advantage.
And Texas has to get an answer here. When you're on the road, you can't let a team run away from you.
A long drought right now for the Longhorns, and a foul committed by Elijah Johnson.
Kansas does such a nice job of, as you mentioned, moving the ball from side to side and then looking into the post. And usually that's not a very good angle from which to feed the post, but Javon Felix having to guard Kevin Young down low on a switch. And there's no way that he's going to be able to guard him if Young decides to throw his weight around, which he did.
Ioannis Papapetru. Good help by Withey. Felix. Papapetru can play inside and outside. Still plenty of time to shoot.
And the ball in that possession all stayed on the right side of the floor until Papapetru threw it out. Nice.
Papapetru misses the 3. Longhorns are getting some good looks from beyond the arc, but they're not knocking them down.
Yeah, at some point you have to make shots. And that has not been the strength of this team.
Again, Young defended by Felix. And again, he takes advantage. That's a 5'11" guard trying to deal with a 6'8" forward.
That's when the guards have a greater appreciation for what their big guys do when they have to go in and do it themselves.
And a travel on Felix. An ugly stretch here for the Longhorns, and the Jayhawks have widened out that lead considerably. Knocking them down from outside, going inside. and leading by 13.
Championship 75-68 in overtime.
Well, they were down. They started fouling. They got closer. Chalmers hit a 3 to force overtime. They just showed that shot that you saw at home on the Jumbotron here at Allen Fieldhouse. And again, Ariel Chalmers will have his jersey retired tonight. So many Jayhawks of the past are back in the building tonight for his special evening. Meanwhile, the current version of the Jayhawks on a roll right now because Texas can't throw the ball in the ocean. Tharp to Withey.
And Dan, that ball went from side to side to side. And then Kansas attacked. And when you make the defense move like that and then attack off the dribble off a ball screen, you've really got something.
Kabongo no, but Papa Petru there for the follow.
Texas has gotten some second shot opportunities. That's their 6th offensive rebound. But the Longhorns don't really generate a whole lot of easy baskets. And that means they've got to grind it out in the half court. High-low.
Another staple of the Kansas offense. Withey not this time. Crowd wanted to foul Felix. And he is fouled by Tharp.
Now, there may have been contact there when Withey went up, but it wasn't contact that he went into. You can see that little shot fake on the closeout, and Nadir Tharp was able to get around Mike Kabongo. That means a big guy's got to help uphill, and you can just drop it off to Jeff Withey for the easy basket. You know, Withey's only got 1 block, but he's responsible for an awful lot of changes of shots in this game.
3-guard offense right now for the Longhorns. Felix, Kabongo, and McClellan.
See, right now, Ridley being guarded by Withey when he sets a ball screen. Wow.
A challenge by Withey. And the foul is on Relaford.
There was an awful lot of contact, but Mike Kabongo went into that contact, and Withey went straight up. When you go straight up, you're supposed to have that space essentially all the way up to the ceiling. Now, I tend to think that's more of a foul than not when you use your chest that way, but that has become the way that the college game is played.
First on Relaford, and Ridley back at the free throw line.
See, when Ridley is the guy that sets a ball screen, when he's guarded by Withey, trying to draw Withey away from the basket, Ridley is a roll guy. He is not going to pop.
Yep.
So he's not a threat to shoot it.
Different than when Lambertson.
Exactly. Or Papa Petru.
McLemore off the screen, and a reaching foul going against the Longhorns. Rivalry week concludes Monday night here on ESPN at 7 Eastern. It'll be the Irish coming off a lopsided loss at Providence today. They'll take on Pittsburgh, and then at 9 Eastern, West Virginia in Manhattan to take on Kansas State. Big Monday presented by Bud Light, all a part of Rivalry Week presented by Wendy's.
You know, Dan, that last action that got the foul by Kansas, a little back pick by Withey, and then setting a down screen for McLemore, a little screen and re-screen action. Well, you can run so many things for McLemore to get him a shot. That's why he's one of the reasons he's scoring so many points. He's so versatile.
He's averaging almost 17 points per game on the season, better than 18 points per game in conference play. Shooting percentages are up in conference play as well. Young right into the chest of Ridley. Young gets it back. Tapped out to Relaford. Young will get a 3rd opportunity. If at first you don't succeed.
Well, you keep the ball alive, knock it out, and a really alert play, not surprisingly, by Travis Relaford to go after that ball and get it. He cut off a Longhorn to get it. And Texas little Iverson Cup throws it away. Now Kevin Young goes right into the chest, as you mentioned, to Cameron Ridley. There was no call there, but that ball could have easily gone the other way if Travis Relaford hadn't been so alert on the perimeter and Sheldon McClellan to come up with it.
Let's check in with Holly Rowe again.
Well, Kevin Young's a unique story. He was playing at Loyola Marymount, was looking to transfer, and Kansas assistant coach Curtis Townsend called the coaches and said, hey, we need a guy that can play 10 minutes a game. Do you think he can? The coaches said, we're not sure. They didn't know if he was high enough level to play here at Kansas, but here he is starting for the Jayhawks, and he's done that through his hard work.
All right, Holly, thank you. And Kansas, even with the name they have, Jay, not everybody they have is a McDonald's All-American. There are a number of players who have gotten better and better as their careers have developed here. Not just guys who step into the program as instant stars.
Well, Bill Self's one of not only the best coaches in the country, I think you can make an argument that he's the best coach in the country. He's won 8 Big 12 championships. He's only lost that many games in this building since he's been here. As many championships he's won as he has losses in this building. That's ridiculous.
He's 157-8 in this building, and no program has won as many games as Kansas has since Bill Self got here.
I wonder if he gets to 9 this year if they reevaluate his job. He really had it going at Illinois. I thought he could have won a championship there had he stayed.
Withy with an air ball. Young is out of bounds when he tried to reach in there, so it'll be Texas ball. When do we come back? Bill Self's Jayhawks up 15.
Some men are coming to kill us. We're going to kill them first.
Chris Cotter in studio. UPS halftime report just around the corner. Coach Greenberg will be here in studio with us. Tough day for the Blue Devils on the road, ending a rivalry in the ACC in a manner that Terp fans were more than happy to do. And then Kentucky on the road without Nerlens Noel and struggling in Knoxville. All the highlights coming up. UPS halftime report. Dan, Jay?
All right, Chris, thank you. Kentucky, an ugly loss without Nerlens Noel, losing by 30 to Tennessee. Will Sheehy with a monster game in Indiana's lopsided win over Purdue, but a really significant win for the Maryland Terrapins.
Yeah, it puts them a step closer to getting into the NCAA tournament under a former Jayhawk, Mark Turgeon, who played here in the mid-'80s. But makes you wonder how many points Maryland could have scored if they didn't turn the ball over so much. They were crossing over in front of defenders, turning it over. Seth Allen lost his shoe, turned it over for a basket. They turned it over like crazy and still won. That was a gut check for that team.
There were some wild games today, including Arkansas coming back and beating Missouri late. North Carolina scoring over 90 points against Virginia. P.J. Hairston had a huge game, and NC State surviving in overtime against Virginia Tech.
And that small lineup that North Carolina used against Duke, used again in the ball game against Virginia, and putting up over 90 points against the Cavaliers is something. There's going to be a shot clock violation. I don't even know how much time's left.
Another turnover on Texas as we send it over to Holly.
In that last Kansas huddle, Bill Self was frustrated with his team. He said, look, we should be up by a lot more than 20 if we would just offensive rebound. He said 6 of their 11 points have come off of putbacks. Guys, what do you have to do to put a body on somebody? Don't work this hard to get a big lead and then just give it away by not blocking out.
Well, that's a good point, Holly. Their first shot defense has been excellent, but you give second shots, those are high percentage looks, and Texas has really struggled to score. I even think Kansas could have been more efficient on the offensive end. You know, this team may not be a great passing team, but they can pass it better than they have.
Young misses around the rim. Relaford gets it back. Young, again, 3 opportunities and nothing will go for the Jayhawks.
And that's just a question of finishing plays. You had opportunities right by the rim. You got to finish those.
Kabongo back into the game and out for Texas after a stretch on the bench. The Longhorns with just 11 points in 17.5 minutes, shooting only 17%.
Well, right now, Kansas able to play containment defense. They're there on the catch, but you don't have to deny anything because Texas has improved the ability to knock down a perimeter shot. You can put late pressure on these shots.
Kabongo trying to force something, hits Lammert. No basket. Another shot clock violation.
Again, it's one thing to turn the ball over. but to have 2 straight shot clock violations. You know, that's a young basketball team. This Texas Longhorn team does not have a junior or senior that plays. This is all freshmen and sophomores. And their sophomore point guard, Mike Kabongo, has barely played this year. He's only played 1 game. So you're not talking about an experienced sophomore.
And you can see how ugly the numbers are offensively for the Longhorns tonight. Guys like Avery Bradley, Tristan Thompson, Corey Joseph all still could be here, but some of the many Longhorn players who have opted to leave early for the NBA in the recent years. Rick Barnes almost has been a victim of his own recruiting. So many players have left early, and there's no such player of that caliber in this group. It does not appear. Traylor called for the offensive foul.
His first personal foul. It's the 8th team foul on game.
And you can see what Bill Self thinks of the call.
See what anybody, it's not close.
And I know you and I have discussed this before, off air and on, and your feeling is unless it's blatant, then it shouldn't be a charge.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're a help defender, which DeMarcus Holland was there, if you jump in front of an offensive player that has won a path to the basket, you need to be established, and Holland just wasn't established.
Holland the drive, and a foul. And 2 free throws coming for Holland.
Foul number 23, Ben
McLemore called for the foul, his second.
It's the 19th team foul on game.
DeMarcus Holland is a hard-working player and a guy that is really a good defender. And when he got to Texas and they started playing, got into pickup games, he jumped right into Sheldon McClellan's grill and said, "I'll be here every day." And he has been. I think that really endeared him to Rick Barnes.
Well, this starting 5 that Rick Barnes has settled on the last 2 games, they're only 2 for 9 from the line, by the way. This is a group that Rick Barnes feels works the hardest, listens the best, has the highest IQ. Not necessarily the 5 most talented teams on the roster, but the players who are going to execute what Rick Barnes, or at least attempt to execute what Rick Barnes wants them to.
Well, he's going to hold everybody accountable for his standards, whether it's on the defensive end or the offensive end. But it's got to be frustrating for not only the players, but the coaching staff, everybody involved in the program, that they can't seem to score, can't seem to make shots because they're working so hard. You know, their defense has been good overall. The biggest problem that they've got on the defensive end is what we're seeing right now, is they put the opponent on the free throw line at an incredibly high rate. And that's the most efficient place to score on the floor. You put your opponent into efficient scoring situations by your mistakes, you're going to get beat.
The Longhorns have a total of 4 field goals in the first half. 3 of them by Connor Lammert, and the other by Ioannis Papapetru.
You know, if they make free throws, this is at least they're within shouting distance.
Yep.
But right now, there's no pressure at all on Kansas. You know, they're playing with house money right now. You really don't have to get out and pressure anybody because Texas hasn't shown the ability to make a shot.
Kabongo the drive, and he draws the foul.
Number 15, Elijah Johnson.
And it'll be on Elijah Johnson. ESPN College Basketball is available live anytime, anywhere on your computer, tablet, or smartphone at WatchESPN.com and with the Watch ESPN app.
At the line shooting 2.
And finally, a free throw made for Texas after they had missed their last 6 in a row. They're still just 3 for 10 from the line tonight.
And Kabongo's the type of player, he's not a great shooter, but he can really turn the corner and get to the rim. And once again sought out the body of Jeff Withey, which is not easy to do. I mean, Withey blocks over 4 shots a game. Big turnover.
Rio Adams just checked in for Johnson after he picked up his 2nd foul. Holland comes up with a steal and the dunk, and Bill Self's not happy, and he's going to use a timeout here in the closing minute of the first half. So even though Kansas is up 13, things haven't gone great for the Jayhawks in the last 30 seconds or so. Tharp and Johnson each have 2 fouls. Rio Johnson came into the game and immediately turned it over. Holland comes up with a steal and the dunk. Bill Self called a timeout, and that put Adams right back on the bench. He couldn't even Warren staying on the court for the last 37 seconds as he turns it over. And Nico Roberts is into the game. 5'11" junior. He is the son of Kansas assistant coach Norm Roberts. A walk-on wearing number 20.
Norm Roberts, the former head coach at St. John's, was with Billy Donovan in Florida before he came back here to Kansas. The 2-3 zone looks like right now for Texas.
And about a 2-second difference between the game clock and the shot clock.
Now they go back to man.
Crowd oohing and eyeing after Holland lost his footing. Young has it swatted away. The Longhorns have it. 4 seconds to go. Kabongo with a head of steam.
Wasn't any good.
After the expiration of time, the basket will not count. And at the end of the half here at Allen Fieldhouse, it's the Jayhawks leading the Longhorns 28-15. An ugly offensive half for Texas. Holly Rose with Bill Self.
Well, Coach, how do you describe your defensive effort almost the whole half, but a little problem there at the end?
Well, it wasn't defense as much as it was offense, but we guarded hard, and we didn't rebound the ball very well. Of course, offensively, we were pretty inept ourselves, but they're pretty good defensively also. You've been on your guys in the huddle to offensive rebound better. How are they going to do that more effectively? I thought we did a pretty good job. You know, when you're not shooting the ball well, you might as well try to go get it, and we did a pretty good job with that, but we missed way too many easy shots. Thanks, Coach.
All right, Holly, thank you. 28-15, Kansas over Texas as they try to move back into a tie for top spot of the Big 12. Time for the UPS halftime report with Chris Cotter and Seth Greenberg.
You're watching ESPN's Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's.
Welcome back to Saturday Prime Time, presented by DirecTV. All a part of Rivalry Week, presented by Wendy's. Back here at the Fog. Dan Schulman, Jay Billis, Holly Rowe. Going to the second half. Kansas 28, Texas 15. Travis Relaford and the guys getting ready to go for the second half. I mean, Kansas is up 13. They could be up about 30, really, in this game.
Yeah, they didn't finish plays. Kansas got 35% that first half. They turned it over 9 times. They're still up 13. You know, on the positive side for Texas, Mike Kabongo made 3 of his 4 free throws. outside of that, there wasn't a whole lot of good.
No, he missed all 7 of his field goal attempts. Texas shot 19%, 5 out of 26 in the first half. Here we go in the second half. Let's see if the Longhorns can find the basket. Or will Kansas just pull away once they start getting more efficient offensively? Kansas defeated Texas 64-59 in Austin on January the 19th. Johnson to the cutting McLemore. Off-balance shot, short. And out of bounds to the Longhorns as we say hello again to Holly.
I asked Coach Rick Barnes of Texas at the half, how can your team score more effectively? He said, number one, we've got to screen better. Nobody's screening. We're not moving the ball. We have too many guys trying to go one-on-one. And he said, I thought we got some good looks, but guys didn't cut hard to finish plays.
All right, Holly, thank you. Kabongo the kick. Holland is wide open. Air balls the 3, but it'll stay with Texas. Is it a case, Jay, of the players not running the offense properly, just not being talented enough to convert? What do you see out there from the Longhorns?
Look, I hear what Rick is saying about cutting harder and setting better screens, but DeMarcus Holland just had a wide open shot and missed it by 5 feet. You know, that's not cutting and screening. You got to make shots.
Ben McLemore down and injured. Back to his feet and moving a little bit gingerly, but appears to be okay. But you can imagine how everybody held their collective breath here in the Fog when McLemore hit the deck. Whatever it was, he's going to try to play through it at least until the whistle as Young comes up with a steal. And Johnson, count the basket. He'll have a chance for a 3-point play.
Well, Elijah Johnson had the defense backpedaling on the run and just went right into Papa Petru. And he just lowered that shoulder and got the call. Well, that's one of those things where if you have the advantage, take advantage of it. And he just pulled his way through Papa Petru and still was able to complete the play.
And a missed free throw by Johnson. McLemore still in the game. The next whistle will get a look at what the injury was, but whatever it is, again, he is still in the game. 30-15. A minute and a half into the second half. Texas 5 for 27 from the field. 1 for 9 from 3. 4 for 11 from the line as Holland gets one to go down.
The shading toward the ball screen. The ball screen was refused by Holland. And when Kevin Young came over and just put his hands up. That was a nice finish. But those have been few and far between for Texas in this game. This young team has put so much pressure on his defense by not being able to get a score.
Johnson for 3. And Holmes down to the rebound for the Longhorns.
I thought they could have gotten the ball into Withey on that occasion.
Rejection by Withey. That'll set a new Big 12 career record. Johnson with another opportunity for a three-point play.
As inefficient as Kansas has been on the offensive end, this should really be a 30-point game.
Papa Petra to the bench. Julian Lewis takes his place.
I'll tell you, this is a game that Kansas needs to keep pace with Oklahoma State, who beat Oklahoma in overtime today. And they've got to play. Kansas has to play at Oklahoma State on Wednesday night.
And Kansas State defeated Baylor earlier tonight as well. So both K-State and Oklahoma State are 9-3 in the Big 12. Kansas is 8-3. A little bit of separation right now between the top 3 and the next group after the results earlier today.
And Julian Lewis able to step into that 3, but right now Kansas just defending out to the 3-point line. On exchanges, handoffs, they can go underneath. You don't have to chase him off the 3-point line. Well, Lambert was going to be open, but Withey just jumped in front of him and chucked him off his cut.
Lambert the screen. Kabongo trying to penetrate. Now Holland forces it up. Lambert can't get a shot off, but a fresh 35 for the Longhorns. Neither team doing much with their offensive rebounds, and there have been plenty of offensive rebounds in this game. Now Lewis is fouled, and it'll be Relaford.
That's the second personal foul.
Well, here's a look at the Big 12 right now. Kansas has won or shared the last 8 Big 12 regular season titles. And again, Oklahoma State, Kansas State both won today. So Kansas needs a win tonight to stay with the top 2. And as you mentioned, some tough road games still to come for the Jayhawks.
Yeah, there's still a long way to go. There's an 18-game schedule in the Big 12. And you have got to play on the road and win on the road if you're going to want to take home a Big 12 banner, which Kansas has owned since Bill Self has been here. Great outlet.
Johnson will Euro step and he'll finish. Boy, is he off to a hot start here in the second half.
Well, Dan, when you have been slumping, the best way to get out of a slump is to get to the rim and get some easy baskets. And Elijah Johnson knocked down his first open shot, and since then he's been able to get to the rim.
And a Texas turnover.
Elijah Johnson getting all the way to the basket was really set up by that great outlet pass by Jeff Withey. He got the ball and immediately looked down the floor. And the nice little Euro step through and finish by Johnson, who from Las Vegas is a spectacular athlete. He's really more of a combo guard, a 2-guard, but has played the point for the better part of the season. Nadir Tharp has come in and done a nice job of late.
McLemore splits the D, forces it up. And Lewis down to the rebound for the Longhorns. The score here in the second half is Elijah Johnson 7, Texas 2. That's it here in the first 4 minutes and 10 seconds.
And Texas really had to struggle for that too. There's nothing easy for the Longhorns. They're not generating anything off their defense, and these passes are horrible.
This has been the biggest problem they've had this year. An incredible number of turnovers as McLemore is met up near the rim but a foul is called on Jonathan Holmes to take us to the under-16 immediate timeout. Kansas more than doubling Texas here early in the second half at the 5.
Chris Cotter in studio over on ESPN2. Ole Miss and Georgia in Oxford. 0.6 remaining in regulation. Georgia's Dante Williams almost wins it. Couldn't quite do it, though. We go to overtime where Ole Miss has a 3-point lead over the Dogs. And again, that game is on ESPN2, Dan.
All right, Chris, thank you. Here, Kansas leading Texas 35-17. Some incredible numbers in this game. A few of them flattering. The two teams have combined for 25 offensive rebounds. Bill Self can't be happy, Jay, that Texas has 15 offensive rebounds, yet they've only scored 6 second-chance points. Rick Barnes can't be happy with that.
I'm not sure there's a whole lot that Rick Barnes can be happy about. I mean, his team is playing hard, and it's a good group of kids. But you know, at some point, you got to put the rock in the basket, and they're not doing it. And that puts an extraordinary amount of pressure on your defense.
And we didn't expect a lot of offense here tonight. As we mentioned in the first half, Kansas and Texas are 1-2 in the country in opponents' field goal percentage, but 17% for the Longhorns tonight. McLemore to the line for the Jayhawks. This is the first as we check in with Holly.
When Texas's Jonathan Holmes came up and challenged this shot from McLemore, he may have hurt his right hand. Now remember, that's the hand he broke his 3rd metacarpal. He came over, asked the trainer to look at it. They've put a bag of ice on it, but he's had a miraculous recovery, just 3 weeks out with a broken hand. So just keeping an eye on that, being cautious for right now.
He seemed like he had all ball on that block. There may have been a little bit of body with McLemore coming into him. But that was a pretty high-level block, it looked like, by Jonathan Holmes.
Lammert on the drive, draws the foul. Of course, with Kabongo missing the first 23 games and Holmes missing 5, Rick Barnes is just now feeling like he's finally getting the team that he thought he might have together. Even though they're not playing well at all, he's finally got all of his pieces at his disposal. But now Holmes back to the bench, perhaps aggravating the hand.
Well, in Kabongo's first game back against Iowa State, it was statistically and from an efficiency standpoint, the 2nd best performance that Texas had all season long. Now, this is not a good place, Allen Fieldhouse, to come in and test your mettle and try to have your best performance. You're certainly not going to expect that, but I think Texas expected to play better than they have.
Tharp back into the point out for Kansas. Johnson to the bench. Kabongo guarding McLemore. Relaford the kick.
Nice.
Gets it right back.
Now that was really good offense, to move the ball from side to side and then find an open man in the corner. And Travis Relaford having another really good game. You know, he doesn't take bad shots.
Withy forces the turnover. Relaford out in transition. Timeout, Texas.
On Super Tuesday, a pair of heavyweights battle it out in East Lansing as the Big Ten's 2 biggest teams continue their fight for the conference crown. The Hoosier Hoops tradition is revitalized behind the play of big man Cody Zeller and the dynamic Victor Oladipo, who will lead Indiana into the hostile Breslin Center, where Keith Appling and the Spartans are playing their best basketball of the season. Indiana versus Michigan State at 7, followed by Florida versus Missouri at 9, Tuesday on ESPN.
From Anchorage, Alaska, number 15, Mario Chalmers.
What a special night for Mario Chalmers, coming back here to Lawrence. His jersey raised to the rafters tonight in honor of his career. The shot that sent the national championship game to overtime, and the most outstanding player award. He won at the Final Four in 2008. And Chalmers is standing by with Holly Ray.
Well, Mario, as they unveiled your jersey, it's up there with names like Wilt Chamberlain, Danny Manning. What was that like to have your name added to all those others?
It was a lot of fun. You know, to be up there with those greats like that, you know, shows that I left my mark on KU history.
I know a lot of people love to remember you for Mario's miracle, but, you know, they're reminded of how good you were defensively, all the other things you did. What do you want your legacy to be here?
Just to play a left foot on the court every night. He came out here, gave his heart and soul for the Kansas fans.
Coach Self couldn't help himself but remind you that when you were a freshman, you could barely bring the ball up the floor against Arizona. How much did he help you grow as a player?
He helped me grow a lot. You know, having a coach like Coach Self, you know, taught me everything. You know, kept me pushing.
How neat is it to have this moment tonight with so many of your former teammates here by your side?
It's great. You know, I'm grateful that all of them came back to join me in this special moment for me and especially my family.
Thanks, Mario.
Thank you.
Holly, thank you. Jonathan Holmes back into the game for Texas, so the hand's okay as he knocks down a three to make it 41-22. When you think of Chalmers, Jay, what do you think of?
Well, you can't help but think of the most outstanding player he won in the 2008 Final Four. And I know that our friend Reese Davis will think of him for that pocket square he had. I've never seen Reese so jealous.
283 career steals. In his last season at Kansas, he averaged 3 steals per game. That's an extraordinary number.
And he's carried that on in the NBA with the Miami Heat.
Alongside a number of great ex-Jayhawks who are taking advantage of the NBA All-Star break to come back here to Allen Fieldhouse in Lawrence and take in the action. Simeon, Henry, the Morrises, Collison, Robinson, Taylor, among others. Been a pretty good run for Bill Self. Now in his 10th season at Kansas, a winning percentage of better than 83%, including the 2008 National Championship win over Memphis. Kabongo throws up a prayer, but he draws the foul.
Well, Tharp and Johnson switching off on Kabongo, and he just got an angle on Elijah Johnson, was able to get all the way to the rim and draw that contact. And that's the specialty of Mike Kabongo, his ability to turn the corner and get all the way to the rim.
And here's how badly things are going for Texas. Kabongo slipped after he was fouled. Holmes went over to help him up, and he slipped.
He was safe.
And Kabongo to the line. You wonder, after what Kabongo has gone through with the NCAA this year, will he decide to come back and have a full year to show his stuff for the next level, or will he say, and he's not saying much of anything right now, will he say, you know what, enough is enough, I'm going to go to the NBA, I'm going to put my name in the draft?
Boy, that's a good question. And I think you know, to his great credit, he has handled this extraordinarily well. He's come to practice every day. He's played hard. He's still remained a contributing member of the team even when he was suspended. He's not commented on this matter publicly. He's accepted responsibility.
Ellis from Relaford.
That's just vintage Kansas. Just getting the ball from one side to the other. And the post guys, no matter whether they're freshmen all the way to seniors, do a really good job of playing angles. They move you up the lane and seal you until the ball gets to the proper angle to feed the post.
Withy having to defend out to the three-point line on Lambert. Kabongo stripped. Relaford's got help. Drops it off, and Ellis fouled from behind by Lambert.
But Mike Kabongo, when he took the ball into the lane, should have passed it out, because he had Connor Lambert wide open on the wing, and instead took it into traffic, wound up losing it, and it led to a run out for Kansas.
At the line, Barry Ellis, shooting 2.
Now Tuesday night at 7 Eastern, it's going to be Indiana at Michigan State. And on the telecast, along with Mike Tirico, Dick Vitale, and former Michigan State legend Irvin Magic Johnson. That game comes your way at 7 Eastern. Then it's Florida and Missouri at 9 Eastern. Super Tuesday on ESPN, and also live on the Watch ESPN. I can tell you, Dick is excited about that one. I'm sure Magic is as well.
So am I. Can't wait to watch. It's going to be a great game and a great crew. Could be a lot of fun. You know, Dan, you were talking about some of the younger players that Kansas has. And, you know, the free throw line, Perry Ellis is one of those. He started early on this season. But a young man that's really talented, can really score. And Bill Self's got a top-flight recruiting class coming in again next year. And he landed and signed 6'11" center Joel Embiid from Cameroon, who's going to come in and be a really good player. Wayne Selden, a McDonald's All-American, who can really drive it, slash it, and get to the rim.
And there's a young man here, Julius Randle, the #2 ranked recruit coming in next year. He has already visited Texas, and he's making his official visit to Kansas tonight. So he has seen both, and he's watching this from both sides right now, this game between Texas and Kansas. Also recently announced that Andrew Wiggins, the #1 ranked recruit coming in next year, has added Kansas to his official list, and he's going to be here on the 4th of March. He's already visited Florida State. He's going to visit Kentucky, North Carolina, and now he has added the Jayhawks to his list as well.
Both those guys outstanding players. Andrew Wiggins, I think the best athlete in this high school class, and Julius Randle, lefty, really an outstanding player. And he was visiting NC State when game day visited the Wolfpack for their game against North Carolina.
Longhorns can't hit from anywhere now. Tharp, look at the speed.
And Nadir Tharp really dominated the first half against Kansas State. Now, that was the game where Kansas got back to really pushing the pace. They had become a slower walk-it-up team for a few games. They played without the kind of energy you're used to seeing them play with, and they played more with that energy in this game, especially in the second half. Might not be as efficient as Bill Self would like to see.
Kabongo foul to take us to a timeout. Kansas leading by 19. We mentioned Julius Randle. There he is, thinking about his future here tonight at the Fog.
It's easy to lose your way in the fog. The sheer volume can overwhelm the senses. So pay heed, all who enter. Beware of the fog.
The combination of this historic, magical building, and also, Jay, one heck of a basketball program, obviously. I mean, the building can be great, but if you don't have players, you're not going to win 157 out of 165, which is what the Jayhawks have done under Bill Self. There is James Naismith's grandson, Jim, on the left. He was part of game day this morning, and this is something that Kansas does as well, if not better than any program in America, is not only honor their past, but keep the past as part of the present in their program.
Well, in large measure, this is the birthplace of basketball. And so many basketball legends have graced this floor, have played here. The great Dean Smith played here on the 1952 championship team. Adolph Rupp played here. Will Chamberlain. Larry Brown coached here. So many Hall of Famers.
Kevin Young rejects Cameron Ridley. 5 national championships, including Danny and the Miracles in 1988, and then, of course, the Mario Chalmers-led team in 2008.
We could argue that they were awfully close to having more. Certainly last year would have been an improbable championship, but in 2003, what a nice move by Jamari Trail. He is going to be a really good player. Played more minutes early on this season. But he reminds you a little bit of a very young Thomas Robinson. That's high, the kind of comparison where he's not ready to be that yet, but neither was Thomas Robinson at that age.
Robinson, of course, backing up the Morrises for a couple of years before he took over and exploded into an All-American.
What we were talking about before, in 2003, I thought that team was going to win the national championship. And the Kansas team in 1997, that was the best team in the country, got beat by Arizona.
Tharp. A long rebound out to McClellan, who's had a very quiet night.
And McClellan was all by himself. He was going 1-on-4. Nobody else went with him.
And Young charged with a foul on Ridley on this time down the court. Once again, over to Hollow.
Well, you spoke of how Kansas preserves history, and again, they've tried to do the same thing. There's a gentleman here tonight, David Booth, who purchased the original rules of basketball that Dr. James Naismith actually typed out and signed at an auction. But guess what? Those rules right now reside in Austin, Texas at his office. He's had them on display at a museum. Rick Barnes had this Texas team go over and review those rules so they would appreciate the history of the game. I talked to a couple of the players last night. I said, what did you think of those rules? And they said, man, they were weird. They didn't even have a three-point line. Mr. Booth said that he will eventually donate those rules back to Kansas. They're trying to actively fundraise for a special building so that history can reside here forever.
All right, Holly, thank you. Given how much Texas is struggling putting the ball in the basket, there, I'm sure Rick Barnes, a number of things went through his head when he took his team to visit the rules, but we don't want to add insult to injury. The rules are actually fascinating. There is some semblance of a goaltending rule, a basket interference rule in the original rules. There is no mention of dribbling. You're not allowed to dribble the basketball at the time the game was invented. And there's also no mention, Jay, of how many players should be on the court for either team. All of that was brought in later.
So I imagine there's no charge block distinction.
I don't remember anything about instant replay or the semicircle in the restricted area.
It was Naismith, not Nostradamus.
Game invented, I believe, in 1891, if I'm not mistaken. And as Holly mentioned, those rules will eventually find a home here. And watching the 30 for 30 movie recently, you were quoted, you were interviewed in the movie, and you said it well. This is as good a place, if not a better place than any, for these rules to reside. Although the game was invented in Springfield, in many ways, this feels like as much of a birthplace for basketball as Springfield does.
Dr. James Naismith coached here at Kansas and was the only Kansas coach with a losing record.
How about that? I saw that, 55-60. First turnover committed this half by the Jayhawks, who have had a comfortable lead most of the night.
And that Naismith record, that's because he had to play against the Topeka YMCA, which Bill Self has not had to do.
Has anybody ever brought more attention to a YMCA than Bill Self did after the TCU loss? Prince eBay into the game for the first time for Texas. Loses it, gets it back. Shot clock's running down, and another Texas turnover. Back to Holly.
Well, Coach Self wants to point out that he was really joking about the YMCA comments, but he said the reason that was on my front of my mind was the ball from Kansas's first win against the Topeka YMCA is in my office. I look at it every day, so he said that's why he thought of that in his press conference.
Was he joking, though, when he said on a positive note that they had assists on all three of their baskets in the first half against TCU?
Well, Bill's got a great sense of humor, but what I've always marveled about him, I mean, he's a great basketball coach. And what I've always marveled about him is his ability to hold his teams accountable and to a high standard, but at the same time, playing without fear of making a mistake. And for a lot of coaches, that can be a fine balance. And he balances it extraordinarily well. He's got a great staff. That's sitting to his right is Joe Dooley. To his left, Curtis Townsend. And Joe Dooley was a head coach at East Carolina. Doc Sadler there was a head coach at Nebraska.
Norm Roberts.
Norm Roberts, who was the head coach at St. John's. That's a lot of former head coaches over there. It's a terrific, terrific basketball staff.
Withy back to the line. Bonus both ways. I think a lot of people forget. You guys asked Bill Self about it this morning, about, it was you specifically, about coming to Kansas, and he talked about the year he spent as a graduate assistant in 85-86. He played at Oklahoma State, but was a GA here at Kansas for a year. And as he said to you, he loved Illinois. He had a great job at Illinois. Considered it a top 10 job in the country, but this is one of those places when they come calling, like in North Carolina, Duke, at Kentucky, there are very few programs on this level.
Well, when he was the graduate assistant at Kansas, that was a great team. Kansas won 35 games that year with Danny Manning and Ron Kellogg, Calvin Thompson. But he said his job was to get Larry Brown to USA Today every day.
From humble beginnings, look at him now. Withy with a slam. Nice feed from Johnson.
Kansas has always done that very well. Get an angle, throw the ball up to the rim.
30-second time of stretching.
Largest lead of the night right now for the Jayhawks, piling it on at the expense of the Longhorns here at the Phog. Back here in Lawrence, let's take a look now at tonight's game track, brought to you by DirecTV. The Kansas Jayhawks have been in control much of the night, leading 53-28. The Longhorns continue to struggle. They're 9 for 43, shooting 21%.
Kansas has really been able to shut down the paint because they're just playing containment defense. They don't have to get out and deny a pass. They haven't been able to. Texas hasn't been able to knock down a perimeter shot, so they can't really stretch the defense. Well, Sheldon McClellan taking Ben McLemore, and now he's got to help off on Withy.
Nice ball movement. Withy gets it back. And a steal now by Young. Well, 4 seniors on one side, nothing but freshmen and sophomores on the other. And it's been men against boys for most of the night. Relaford open again. Relaford 4 for 5 from three-point range tonight.
Well, Kansas is just putting it to Texas. There's no other way around it. This is a tail kicking. What do you call it? Taking them to the woodshed, you name it. This has never been close.
Elijah Johnson. With a win tonight, Kansas will keep pace with Oklahoma State and Kansas State atop the Big 12 standings, all three of them at 9 and 3. And a foul on Kansas to take us to a timeout. 60-30 Jayhawks.
ESPN's exclusive presentation of college basketball is presented by DirecTV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you gotta get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV.
Chris Cotter in the studio. Georgia had a chance to beat Ole Miss in regulation earlier tonight. Couldn't do it in the extra session. It was all Rebels. Marshall Henderson here, the steal, the dunk, 2 of his 25. Ole Miss finished the game on an 11-0 run. They win by 10. Over on the U, Arizona State right now in Boulder and leading Colorado by 3. And New Mexico, the 19th ranked team in the country, having a battle of their own against Boise State.
Hi, Chris, back here in Lawrence. It has been all Jayhawks tonight, leading by a score of 60-30 as we take a look at tonight's game track, brought to you by DirecTV. Second game back for Mike Kabongo, and it has been a struggle for him. Travis Relaford has been hot. Texas is shooting 22%. Kansas is shooting 48%. And I'm not sure I've ever been courtside at a game, Jay, where I've seen this. Texas has 2 assists and 14 turnovers in this game.
It has been rough. It's a little better than 22%. 22.2.
True. 17 offensive rebounds, and even that hasn't been enough to help them score a few easy baskets.
Well, every time they've gotten the ball near the basket, they've been challenged and haven't been able to finish plays. But, you know, with this score, as bad as it is, the truth is it should be worse, because Kansas has not capitalized on a lot of opportunities that the Jayhawks have had.
Texas has made the NCAA tournament 14 years in a row. And obviously at this point of the season, barring them winning the Big 12 tournament championship, that streak is going to come to an end. They're 11-13, and a loss tonight would drop them to 3-9 in the Big 12. Now, McLemore for 3.
If they had Kabongo all season long, I think this team would have been considerably better. And I think they will be better against some of the other teams that they play, but you come on the road to Allen Fieldhouse and have to perform against a good Kansas team, you're not going to look good. Now, it's been way south of looking good in this one.
Holland misses a 3. Another offensive rebound. This time it's McClellan, the 18th offensive rebound for Texas in this game. And here, as we mentioned, Texas 14 consecutive trips to the NCAA tournament. Kansas has the longest active streak at 23. And everybody else on that list, obviously their streak is going to continue this year. They're all having terrific seasons.
Well, it's interesting with the loss that Duke suffered today at Maryland. And I know Joe Lunardi has already moved Gonzaga up as a #1 seed in his bracket if the tournament were today, which it's not.
I think he's got Indiana, Miami, Florida, Gonzaga right now as his 4 #1 seeds.
And Gonzaga was considered a top 25 team, which the season starting. Miami was not. And Miami is really good.
One of the outstanding point guards in the country, and Shane Larkin, and then all kinds of experience, seniors everywhere. McLemore draws the foul.
And McLemore was probably fouled before that by Sheldon McClellan, but was able to continue to play through that contact. And this young man is just a big-time talent. They don't make him like Ben McLemore very often.
His first personal foul.
Let's check it again with Holly.
As good as Ben McLemore has been this season, the best freshman in the Big 12 in scoring, his coach actually has been on him in the last couple of weeks at a few practices I've been at to take the next step. He sometimes wants him to be more active in games, be more aggressive. He keeps saying, Ben, this is your time. So he did that in their win on Monday night. He had 30 points. I said, can you take games over on a more regular basis? He said, yes, I've just got to do it. I did it in high school. I've just got to feel more comfortable and not be selfish, but do it here.
Well, it's not selfish for a guy like Ben McLemore to take good shots and to hunt his shot. It's selfish to take bad shots. But he had 33 points. What, he shoot 11 times against Iowa State? Then he had 30 points, and I don't know how many shots. I don't remember how many shots he had against Kansas State, but it wasn't that many. He was really efficient.
And you don't get the feeling that any of the seniors would have a problem with him trying to take over every now and then.
No, I think they want him to.
Tharp comes up with a steal. 3-on-2. McLemore.
Ben McLemore with the assist from the Deer Thumb.
You know, McLemore in saying, hey, be more assertive. You know, it takes some players a while to figure out exactly what that means. You know, you want him to hunt his shot and to look to take advantage of a matchup at every opportunity, to come off every screen looking to shoot, because even if he doesn't get the ball, even if he doesn't have a shot, he's going to draw defensive attention away from other players that are going to have better opportunities as a result of it.
Do they need him to play as well as he's capable of playing if they're going to contend for a national championship?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, in this building, in Big 12 play, he's averaging 24 points a game. In Big 12 play overall, he's averaging over 18. He is leading the Big 12 in scoring in Big 12 conference games only.
And here he goes.
Get your cameras ready.
McClellan draws the foul, but that's not what anybody's thinking about in this building right now. Ben McLemore, they're still on their feet. They're going to see it again on the Jumbotron, and you're going to see it again to go into break. As talented a player as there is in the country, doing his thing.
Top 10. That's one.
I'm Jay Harris. Coming up on SportsCenter after Texas and Kansas, the game day guys on Duke and Kentucky going down. A celebration of MJ's 50th birthday continues, and we look back at one of the best slam dunk competitions ever. Jordan versus Dominique. SportsCenter on ESPN.
The building's still buzzing about that jam by redshirt freshman Ben McLemore. Kansas dominating Texas here tonight.
You know, Dan, sometimes when you see a guy do a 360 dunk, there's like a showboat aspect to it, but when Ben McLemore does it, it's like dignified. He's so smooth and never changes demeanor. It's almost like he does. It calls the right amount of attention to it.
The bench went nuts. They're allowed to do it, and now the crowd are going nuts as McLemore comes out to a huge ovation. Johnson and Tharp check out for the rest of the night as well. Andrew White III is into the game for the Jayhawks. Justin Wesley checks in as well.
Andrew White, a good shooter who had a couple of big buckets against Oklahoma State late in the ball game when Kansas made the run to just about take it away from the Cowboys.
Christian Garrett is checked in as well. Is that We Want Tyler?
That's Tyler Self.
That's Tyler Self. Yeah. The son of Coach Bill Self. That's who the crowd wants to see here, and they might get their wish before the night is over. They might get Evan Manning as well, Danny's son. Now they are sitting beside each other down near the end of the bench. In some ways, a dominant performance by Kansas. In other ways, an anemic performance by Texas. And when Texas was down 13 or 15, as you said, Jay, this could have been a 30-point game then, which would have made it about a 50-point game now. You know, the ex-Jayhawks, the current NBAers, messing with McLemore on the bench. Thomas Robinson, Tyshawn Taylor, the Morris twins.
Did you see the look on Tyshawn Taylor's face?
McLemore might make life miserable for some of those guys next year.
Well, remember, McLemore was in practice with these guys every day last year. He's a redshirt freshman. He was able to practice. I think it was the second semester he was able to practice.
McClellan misses the three. This is as chatty as Ben McLemore's been all night. Garrett. And down with the rebound for Texas, Jalen Bond, sophomore from Philadelphia, who's missed a lot of time with a foot injury this year. Tough night for Kabongo in his second game back. And he's fouled by Wesley.
Foul on number 4, Justin Wesley. That's his first.
Well, after this game, Kansas is going to be turning its attention to prepare for Oklahoma State, because that is a very good team. The alma mater of Bill Self, played there. But that's a very good team that Travis Ford has built there. And
Marcus Smart had a huge game today.
28 again today.
Yeah.
But he plays the total game, doesn't he? It's not just points. He's got steals. He averages 3 steals a game. And he might be the most complete freshman in the country.
You can see that game Wednesday night, 9 Eastern on ESPN2. Kansas at Oklahoma State. They've also got to go to Iowa State and Baylor before the end of the regular season. So some tough road games coming for the Jayhawks, and the Big 12 regular season championship still very much up for grabs.
And Hilton Coliseum, not an easy place to play. Fred Hoiberg's got a team that can really shoot the three and stretch your defense, and they'll be able to move Jeff Withey around on the floor and try to attack the paint as well.
And Wesley, another foul.
Foul by number 4, Justin Wesley.
Well, still, even though Kansas has to go on the road, and this all the Big 12 title is going to go through Lawrence. You have to knock off Kansas.
Mario Chalmers on his way out of Allen Fieldhouse. Some of the crowd seeing that. This was his night in many ways. His jersey raised to the rafters here at Allen Fieldhouse in honor of his great career. Here was a Jayhawk. And here come Tyler Self, Bill's son, and Evan Manning, Danny's son. Well, if you're a Kansas fan, can you have more fun than a win, a McLemore 360, a jersey ceremony, and the coaches' kids getting in the game?
Yeah, it's been all Kansas in this one. A lot to celebrate. I'll tell you what, Evan Manning's dad, I had the honor of playing against him in college. One of the greatest players the college game has ever seen. He's also an outstanding coach.
And shot rejected. And a heck of a nice guy, too.
Great guy.
Gentleman.
I mean, he's going to be one of the outstanding head coaches before he's done.
Three-pointer around and out for Bond. Anything that Self or Manning can do to get in the score sheet's going to make this crowd go nuts. If one of them gets a shot up, they'll really let loose.
Nice.
Still Kansas ball, 17 to shoot. Meanwhile, some long faces for the visitors. A disheartening loss.
Well, you almost don't know what you do with this one. Is it one that you just flush and say, listen, forget this one, let's move on? Because this was not a good performance on either end of the floor.
Rivalry week presented by Wendy's continues on a Monday night. It's Big Monday presented by Bud Light and top-notch women's action. #1 Baylor, Brittany Griner taking on #3 UConn at 9 Eastern on ESPN2.
Have you ever asked who was the guy or the person that came up with the term rivalry week?
Rivalry week. Certainly somebody who wrote it more than said it.
Might have been the Marquis de Sade.
Say it slowly and carefully. Rivalry week. One of the great weeks on the college basketball schedule, though, as it is out of bounds still to the Jayhawks. Nico Roberts back in. So all of the coaches' kids are in the game right now for the Jayhawks.
So expect a lot of good decisions.
Roberts, Self, Manning, former KU assistant coach, now the head coach at Tulsa. Ooh. And Roberts will get a chance to go to the free throw line.
Not often are you fouled by a Prince.
Prince eBay with the foul for Texas. Look at Norm.
You think they get a little money on whose son they're scoring?
That's what I was thinking too. Got another one coming. Double bonus.
I asked Norm Roberts, what's it been like to coach Nico? And he said, you know what? It's been great. Every day in practice, you get to see him, and he's worked hard. He's done a really good job. You know, he was on the scout team for this one. Gets one to go down, and he's really, really nice kid.
1 of 2 for Nico Roberts. eBay gets it to go. One of the young players with a lot of potential, very raw at the offensive end, but Rick Barnes hopes that his development will continue until he becomes a key part of this program.
He's continuing to get stronger. Prince eBay can block shots. He's a good rebounder.
Self with a chance for a three-point play.
It's going to be a little pressure at home to give that kid a scholarship.
The look on Bill's face was priceless.
That was great.
And Kabongo playing into the dying seconds here for Texas. Roberts to White. White to Self. They want to get Manning involved now. Here it is. Think Danny's in front of a television somewhere? One more look at Tyler Self.
Kept his head up, his eyes on the rim, and went right into the contact. That's great. You know, these guys work. Guys at the end of the bench, people may call it garbage time. The coaches certainly don't. But they work every bit as hard or every bit as focused in practice. And the other ones that don't get the credit that they deserve, in addition to the guys on the end of the bench, the walk-ons, are the managers.
And you know the guys happiest for the guys in the game right now? All those regulars over on the bench.
Yeah, they know how hard they work.
Yep. SportsCenter is next here on ESPN. John Buccigross and Jay Harris. A busy day in college basketball. Some more highly ranked teams losing today, including number 2 Duke at Maryland by a score of 83-81. NBA skills competition. Michael Jordan turning 50. Look at Manning hurtling out of bounds to save it. It winds up in a basket by McClellan. But what a great effort by Evan Manning. And he may get one last chance to take a shot if the shot clock is turned off. So don't know if they will or they won't. And now they turn it over anyways. But crowd is booing. They wanted to see Evan Manning get one more chance to make a basket.
Overall, I think Bill Self has to be pretty pleased. It puts them right at the top of the Big 12 to battle Oklahoma State on Wednesday night.
Kansas 73.
Kansas all over Texas tonight to go to 9-3 in the league and move back into a first-place tie with Kansas State and Oklahoma State. A tough night for the Longhorns, who dropped to 3-9 in league play. Big night for Ben McLemore, Travis Relaford, Tyler Self, and others in the Kansas program. Kansas wins easily. McLemore thrills the crowd. For Jay Billis, Holly Rowe, and our entire ESPN crew, I'm Dan Schulman saying thanks for watching. Here are John and Jay in the studio with SportsCenter.